morning, everyone. A lot has been happening recently. Now look, martial law was declared in South Korea by President Yoon Suk-yeol and then quickly lifted just a few hours later. The decree was allegedly to root out North Korean subversion in the country, and I'll be talking about exactly what's been happening there and some of the background. But let me know your thoughts in the comments over whether you think that was a good idea or not. I'll be talking more in depth about it. And speaking of martial law, well, there's a chance we could see it right here in the United States. And Democrats are now looking into efforts that could limit the incoming Trump administration's ability to use martial law, use the military within the United States. And also in other news, when Trump was saying that Haitian illegal immigrants were eating the cats and eating the dogs and eating the pets in Springfield, Ohio, well, part of that whole story had to do with a video that was going around of a woman eating a cat. It was probably just a normal lady eating a cat. And now that woman has pleaded guilty to eating that cat, folks. Also, President Joe Biden's pardon of his son Hunter Biden, well, that could actually set a new precedent. They'd never actually done anything like this in terms of how he did it. There's some technicalities with it. And because what Biden did with the pardon of Hunter sets a new precedent, this could actually set new powers for President-elect Donald Trump that could be pretty important. I'll be talking about these stories and more today, so let's dive into it. First of all, martial law, folks. Martial law was declared and then very quickly lifted in South Korea. Now, this was allegedly being done to clear the way to root out North Korean subversion throughout the country. The allegation was there are politicians in the country who have been subverted by North Korea. Now, the declaration was made by South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol on December 3rd, and the country's parliament voted to end martial law. It was lifted not long after that because, according to their laws, if there's a majority vote in parliament, you have to lift it. They tried blocking him from going in. They forced their way through. They voted anyway. But the issue still stands over whether the country has actually been subverted by North Korea, whether that part is true or not, and what may still be done to tackle the issue, because this is very likely not over. Now look, this is how it started. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law on December 3rd. The South Korean Constitution does lay out the authority of the president to do that. They can invoke martial law in accordance with the country's Martial Law Act. It states to the National Assembly, their Congress, they can request a martial law order be lifted just through a majority vote. And the president has to comply with that vote, which is what happened. Now, President Yoon's declaration set off an immediate reaction from the country's parliament, which is majority controlled by the opposition party, and they voted to lift the declaration just hours after that. Here's more context on why the declaration came about in the first place, though. Epoch Times said this: Yoon, a member of the country's People Power Party, like the Conservative Party, said martial law was necessary because his political opposition, which controls South Korea's National Assembly, had hindered government work. He said they are paralyzing the judiciary by intimidating judges and impeaching a large number of prosecutors, and even paralyzing the executive branch by impeaching the Minister of Public Administration and Security, the chairman of the Korea Communications Commission, the chairman of the Board of Audit and Inspection, and the Minister of National Defense, Yoon said. You know, it's as well the South Korean president further accused his political opposition of sympathizing with communist North Korea. And he said, I declare martial law to protect the Free Republic of Korea from the threat of North Korean communist forces to eradicate the despicable pro-North Korean anti-state forces that are plundering the freedom and happiness of our people, and to protect the free constitutional order, Yoon said. Now, hours after that was declared, martial law came to an end. South Korea's parliament, with 190 of its 300 members present, again, those are the left-wing ones who were present, they unanimously passed a motion for martial law to be lifted. And Yoon stated in a televised address, quote, martial law will be lifted through the State Council. The troops deployed for martial law affairs have been withdrawn. Now, South Korean opposition parties, they've submitted a bill to impeach President Yoon because of this. I'll be giving you more updates on this as it goes on, but this whole episode really shines a light on the issue of North Korea's subversion of the South. something we're going to be seeing in the news probably for a few months now. Now, I've been to South Korea several times. My work there was to investigate Chinese Communist Party's subversion. You might remember I did a couple special features on it. I can say personally, based on interviews I did, based on research I did, the problem of Chinese Communist Party and North Korean subversion in South Korea is massive. It is a massive, serious issue. I've reported before that CCP subversion in particular, the CCP has subverted South Korea to such an extent that the country risks losing its sovereignty if nothing is done to change it. I would actually say the majority of the country currently is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. When it comes to North Korea, this is a bit more complicated. And this ties into some of the history of the country itself. Basically, the current administration in South Korea, they want to form an alliance with the United States. President Yoon, the guy who's currently in office, the one trying to impeach, he wants an alliance with America. They want the American-Korean alliance. They're more pro-America. And of course, having that alliance would be aligning with Japan, Philippines, maybe even Taiwan in the future, we'll have to see, and moving away notably from the Chinese Communist Party. The CCP does not want that to happen. The rival party in South Korea, the one that again overturned the martial law through a vote, the one being accused of using its majority power in Congress to basically dismantle the systems of law that are currently investigating it. That party tends to lean more in favor of North Korea and with the Chinese Communist Party. And this is especially complicated right now because North Korea is becoming increasingly hostile. North Korea right now, they're sending troops to fight alongside Russia and Ukraine. But what's really important with that is that Russia and North Korea, they formed a new military alliance. And under that agreement now, if Russia goes to war, North Korea supports it. If North Korea goes to war, Russia supports it. Currently, you have North Korean troops heading to Ukraine to fight alongside Russian troops. But remember the important thing here. The Korean War never legally ended. And what does that mean? It means North Korea and South Korea, they are legally at war, meaning that Russia is legally, according to this agreement, drawn into that conflict as well. And that, of course, ties into the alliance between Russia, China, and North Korea, which makes the whole thing very, very complicated. Meaning, of course, that the North Korean ties to one of the parties in that country, in South Korea, does create a real security threat to that country. Now, with this in context, though, I released 2 investigative features last year, and in those I exposed CCP and North Korean subversion of South Korea. And from what I found, this is actually a pretty serious problem for South Korea, on a scale, again, that risks the future sovereignty of the country. It is on that level. Let me show you this. The Chinese Communist Party uses bribery, blackmail, economic threats, and outright subversion to quietly seize control of other nations. While the CCP threatens to invade Taiwan using military force, well, the communist regime is already invading other nations, only it's not being done with troops and bombs. Instead, it's being done with non-military tactics. And South Korea has been an active target of the Chinese Communist Party in this lesser-known form of war. Now, among what we uncovered there was the CCP's subversion through its United Front. And this included various networks of Chinese front organizations operating throughout South Korea. In fact, in terms of sister city programs in South Korea, in terms of local government officials even having business ties with China, this is a real serious issue. It also included the CCP using bribes, economic threats, even threats of force, beating people up, coercion, to target the country's politicians. And because of the ties between China, Russia, and North Korea, this network of influence also ties into global politics and the whole problem of which direction South Korea is going to lean on the global stage. Will South Korea actually move towards the United States, or will South Korea move towards North Korea and the Chinese Communist Party? South Korea, although they do have one of the largest U.S. military bases, they're still kind of in the middle with this whole global conflict as it's brewing right now.